Hey, good evening, everyone. It is Thursday. It's about 8 o'clock in the evening, Eastern Time. Most of the markets are closed, and I'd like to take a look at Bitcoin, NASDAQ, the S&P. I want to look at bonds, and I've been talking about that. We've been in a trade on the Discord for I don't know, probably about a month now, maybe a little less than that. But I think they're priming for another big move to the upside. So I want to talk a little bit about those, which is a little bit out of the ordinary. I'm going to talk about a lot of the trades that I am currently in, and just talk a little bit about what we're doing on the Discord. Before I get into any of this, of course, as you all know, this is not financial advice. I'm not your financial advisor. You are responsible for your own trades, managing your own risk, doing your own research, and as always, I'm just giving my opinion on the market. Okay. My machine's running a little slow as usual, but let's go ahead and move on into the chart, and we'll do our best here. All right. So we were discussing yesterday about how Bitcoin, we believe that it's going to go back below 30,000. I actually kind of back to that hypothesis, at least for the time being, that it's not necessarily going to go straight there, but I think that that the possibility is very high that Bitcoin will go back below 30,000, maybe 28 or 29,000 before we see a more significant move to the upside. Now, we have seen a pretty significant move. I would say that the move that we saw over the last 2 days or so, this V shape here, yeah, it's a big deal, but this was about the same thing, right? It looked the same, and then what ended up happening? Well, it rolled over. And well, so far, I'm not saying this is what's going to happen, but so far, it's kind of doing the same thing. So, in my opinion, we tried to short this, and I got in just a little early, and actually, right where the price is right now is right where I got in. But I got stopped out, and now I'm just kind of, looking to see if there's a clearer entry to get in. From this, it still looks corrective, so I'm not really loving the short from right here. As I look at the indicator, right? So we talk about using the indicator. We talk about using the tools that I give you if you're on the Discord. And I'm just going to use that tool right now. The 12 hour is pointing up. The hourly is crossing up. The only thing that's down right now is the 3 hour. And that is not enough for me to take action on. Whereas before, what I was looking at was right here. We had this big move up. The 1 hour and the 3 hour were both in overbought at the same time. Well, that's no longer the case. That's no longer the case. And that 12 hour is still crawling up there. If that gets up here into the bullish control zone, really all bets are off. And I'm just not prepared to put that much at risk, or risk it again, rather, when things are actually lining up that this could be taking another move to the upside. So I'm just being very cautious on that. I do firmly believe that Bitcoin is going to go back down to 28,000. So I would be shaving some profit off the top as we do see that move up, and I believe that we'll see a little bit more upside. But again, I still think that all in all, we're going to see that big move down. What everybody had been looking at and working to trade, and we talked about this, that's why I still keep this P&L on here just as a reminder. Everybody was looking at this as an A, B, C, D, E. Well, so far, that E hit pretty well, right? We talked about this based on a fib level right there at about 39.5, just shy of that. And this trend line from the bottom of this triangle, at the bottom of this wedge, is still holding, right? So we had some grinding below, and before we rolled over, we came back up, and of course the price is higher, but we're still below this trend line. So this trend line is very, very important. And again, looking at this could crawl back up even higher, back to about 38.5, 38.6 even, and still maintain its posture below this trend line from this wedge that we had been paying attention to. Now, bulls are going to look at this. Bulls are going to say, okay, well, we rejected this, but we are reclaiming the upper of the wedge. Okay? So you can make a case both ways. It just depends on how you want to trade it, right? If you want to trade this like the wedge that everybody was paying attention to, well, then we just completed a 1-2. And that means that we should be going down for the 3, 4, 5 given some time. Maybe it happens over the weekend. Right now, the markets, which we're going to talk about in a moment, the markets are very bullish at the moment. But that's going to end, and in my opinion, it's probably going to end within the next 2 weeks. And if Bitcoin makes that big move down over the weekend, I mean, that would make a whole lot of sense. That would make a lot of sense for that to happen over the weekend when markets are closed, because again, markets are bullish right now. So I'm looking at this potentially again as a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, looking at this as an ending diagonal, okay? Taking a look at this from here, pulling it out like this. If we're going to see that move down, more than likely it's going to be some kind of a diagonal, finding ourselves down at about $28,000, $29,000, putting ourselves there to complete that wave 5. And again, we've got a nice 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What we're going to end up seeing, if this is the case, we're going to end up seeing something that's going to look a little bit like this, okay? Where you're going to be looking for something that is three, 4, 5, and then we see this move up, and then we go higher. This is what you're going to want to see. If this is the case, and we do take out this low, and it would make sense for us to do that. Now, we did not do this back in March of 2020 when Bitcoin made that low, but I think conditions are a lot different now. Market conditions are a lot different now. People are using different exchanges now. BitMEX was the exchange back then. Of course, Bybit, Deribit, they were all around, but BitMEX was the heavily used leverage exchange at the time. That is no longer the case compared to Bybit, even Binance. And those exchanges, in my opinion, are much more stable than BitMEX ever was and ever will be, in my opinion. I don't use it anymore for many reasons, and that's one of them. But again, more than likely, we're probably going to take this out. I would say that somewhere between, potentially 25,000 and 28,000, may just stop at 28, but we're going to find a bottom. And I believe, again, it's going to be a local bottom. And we're going to not try and prophesize too much on where Bitcoin's going to go. But I'm still of the opinion that in time, Bitcoin is going to make its way back to about $17,000 to $20,000 in time. Okay, so don't think that that Bitcoin's going to go straight down there, right? We're going to get this completing move here. When we get this completing move, it wouldn't surprise me one bit for Bitcoin to come all the way back up here to about 46 to 48, maybe $50,000. That wouldn't surprise me one bit. But I think that everybody's going to get really bullish. But I also think that that's not going to be the next push up. I don't think it's actually going to happen until later this year. When Bitcoin does find that bottom at $28,000, what's going to end up happening is alts are going to have their fun again, right? So you're going to be seeing Bitcoin moving up. Alts versus US dollar are going to be moving up. Look for alts that are going to be appreciating against the Bitcoin trading pair as Bitcoin is moving up for you to gain some alpha on your way up. It's not always, it's not always easy. It's easier said than done, but that's what you're going to be looking for. But nonetheless, I think that we are completing a 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we're going to be completing an ending diagonal here. And again, I do think that we're going to find ourselves back down here to about 28 to 29,000. Maybe it cuts down a little bit deeper, but from there, I do think that we do create a bottom of sorts, at least for the short to mid term, at least for the next maybe 2 to 3 months. All right, so that's my thought on Bitcoin. Let's talk a little bit about NASDAQ. I've been saying this for weeks, and if you watch my videos, you know that I've been saying this, and you're probably sick of me saying this, that NASDAQ is going to continue grinding higher. I do believe that NASDAQ is going to continue grinding higher. I think that this little correction is done. We had a nice 1 ABC into the 2. What I actually think might be going on here is this is a 1, 2, 1, 2. That would be extremely bullish. I think NASDAQ's going to be making new highs next week. I don't know that it's necessarily going to happen tomorrow, but I do think that next week NASDAQ is going to be grinding higher. It would not surprise me one bit for NASDAQ to take this out. I do want to point out, I'm going to go to a 4-hour time frame here just for a moment. I want to point out this important trend line. So everybody's going to be talking about this, right? Everybody's going to be talking about this resistance trend line, including me, to be fair, because I'm talking about it right now. So right here, we have a high here, we have a high here, and then we're going to be pushing up here to try and hit this high again. So this is going to be at about 14,200. At 14.2, I might be interested in hedging short a bit, at least for a scalp. What we're seeing here is we're seeing a potential move up higher, and it's going to be going up against some important, in my opinion, important resistance. I do think this is important resistance. Now, I do think that we will push through it, and if we do, we want to see a push through with volume and some consolidation above the trend line before we can see our upside target here, which was at about 14,005. But ultimately, I do think that most of next week is going to be bullish. That's been my thesis for weeks now. That Bitcoin, no, sorry, not Bitcoin, that NASDAQ in particular. Now S&P is following, but NASDAQ in particular, I've been saying this for a long time, that I believe that NASDAQ had more upside potential than the S&P did. And now it is time for NASDAQ to shine. And a really great example here is what the futures are doing right now. Let's just take a look at the futures. I'm taking a look at the hourly here. Again, I've gotten my thesis out. We're going to go to about 14.2. We got to push through 14.2 before we can hit 14.5. Okay, but let's just take a look at this. So this is futures. So we have the market that closed. Let's see here. This is the 3 o'clock to 4 o'clock hour right here. We closed at about 13,960, and we're currently trading higher. Let's take a look at the S&P. S&P, you can see it closed. It closed right down here about 42.38, and it gapped down. More than likely, it's going to recover, but NASDAQ looks stronger compared to the S&P 500 right now, and that is no surprise to me. No surprise to me. We had CPI that was released today. I think it was 0.6% for a total of 5% inflation over the last year. But that's your catalyst, right? I was actually watching the chart as it released, and pretty much right on the money, 8:30 in the morning. The market dumped right on that news, and then it just got completely absorbed. We had some crazy movement up and down before it finally decided that it's going to just skyrocket. And as that happened, I went back to myself and these videos that I've been doing for you guys, trying to give you the confidence that this market is going to be grinding higher. But I'm going to say this. I've been saying that the market's going to be going higher for weeks. And as time goes by, your window of opportunity closes as time goes by. Like, for instance, if you're playing options, you buy time, otherwise you typically get crushed. And the same thing with this. I'm saying that the market's going to continue grinding higher, but I don't think it has a whole lot of time left before we do enter not a major corrective phase, but a corrective phase where money is harder to be made. Therefore, risk should be minimized during that time. We should be looking for short hedges. We should be looking for really picky trades. We don't want to be overexposing ourselves when the market is in a corrective phase. We kind of got hurt when the market was correcting in the last half of January, most of February. There was a lot of chop. Some stocks looked great, but it just didn't work out. The market just wasn't ready. And right now, the market is in that phase where you could make money. You just got to take what the market gives you. And again, I do believe that NASDAQ is going to make new highs. S&P, let's just take a look at SPY. What did SPY do? I believe we made new highs on SPY. Let me go to the 4-hour here. So as of right now, we closed at an all-time high on SPY. Okay, this again should not be a surprise to anybody. This should not be a surprise to anybody that we are at a new high on SPY. Let's take a look at Q. On the Qs, we're getting close. I do believe that it's going to make its way up there. I do think it's going to take a little bit of time. I think it's going to take, a few days, a few trading days. Tomorrow might be good. It might be really bad. We don't know. Nobody knows. And if they tell you that they know for sure, then they're lying to you. Now, I know that's a little contradictory because I said that I've been saying that the market is going to be going higher, but that was based on a number of factors that I keep an eye on, that I watch in my Elliott wave analysis, but nobody knows for sure that the market is going to go up. I've just been making some educated decisions, and they've been working out to my favor and hopefully your favor as well if you've been following what I've been trying to educate here. So this looks fine for continued movement to the upside. The day was really, really good. Taking a look here, going back down to an hourly on the Qs in particular, we had a bullish cross on the 3-hour and the 12-hour right here, that opening candle. I mean, that it was impossible for that not to be green. That was a great movement to the upside. We had a pullback, gap fill, and then it had a absorption, and then it just grinded higher. And I think it's going to continue grinding. I don't know necessarily that tomorrow is going to be a very green day, but I do think that, again, over this next several trading days, I do think that Qs, NASDAQ, maybe even S&P and SPY are going to be grinding a little bit higher. I think that your upside potential is sitting in the Qs right now. That is just my opinion based on the price action from the last couple days. Okay, I'm going to take a look at Google, because Google's a trade that we have been sitting in, and we have been playing Google for a while. And let's see here. Here we go. Okay, so as of right now, I think that we are in the middle of a wave 5 of wave 3. Okay, so I've got this wave 5 up here at about 2,500. Now, is that going to hit tomorrow? I'm not sure. I doubt it. I doubt it's going to hit tomorrow. So Google, let's just scroll out here. Google, is that a new all-time high on Google? I do believe that it is. Closing at an all-time high on Google today. And yeah, no, that's fantastic to see that. Which means that if we had enough volume on that move, and I'd have to pull up the volume here and just kind of take a look and see how much volume we had on that move. It was a breakout. That last hour was a breakout on above average volume. We had about, that's probably 100, 200, maybe 250% the amount of volume that we have had on average. The same thing with the hourly candle before close. That was a good volume candle. And just taking a look at all these others, the opening candle, lots of volume. Next candle, there was red candle, but that was a lot of absorption. A lot of absorption on that move. If I went down to maybe a 5-minute time frame and just analyzed volume on this, okay, so at the open right here, lots of volume, lots of volume, lots of volume on this candle right here, lots of buying pressure, not a whole lot of selling pressure. Okay, all of these red candles are very small, and even as we get down here, there was a nice red candle there with a decent amount of volume, but it was just absorbed. And at the very end of the day, you can just see that the volume just ramped up. And at the very end, that was a lot of volume that went into the end of the day, because we were closing at all-time highs on Google. And 24.35. Currently, it's at 24.38. It's up just a little bit in after hours trading. But this still looks good for that move up to, going back to the hourly, that move up to 2,500. I do think that it's going to find its way up there. I think it's going to make it. I just think that we have to be a little patient. Let me get the volume off of here. And then I'm going to also take a look at, I want to take a look at bonds. And this is not something that I usually do. But let's take a look at TLT. TLT is doing fantastic. So we got some calls on TLT. We did it a while back, and I pointed this out. It was in another video that I did. We had a nice 618 pullback. So this was a good trade. It was a good trade. It was a good pullback after a nice corrective cycle. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to do what I usually do, and this should be no secret to anybody. Dominant pivot low, dominant pivot high, pullback right there, So right now we are getting a good extension in here, a good extended move. Likely it's going to find its way up here to about 143.50. And that is after, let me go to say a daily here for a moment. Okay, so let's just look at this. And again, let me remove volume. I thought I got rid of volume. Okay, so taking a look at this, you know, obviously we had a big move there, but I do believe that this is a completed move, a completed correction, which means we're going to be either correcting that move or we're going to be entering a new impulse. And if we're correcting the entire move, we're going to be seeing, you know, we're going to be expecting a move to our fib levels here, which is going to be about 149.25. We'll call it 150. Right here at about 154.65. This level right here makes the most sense to me for us to go back and revisit, which is going to be, we'll call it 154. Okay, you've got support here, you've got support here, and you've got it here again. Then you have resistance. So it would make sense for us to revisit that level. Let's just see if this makes sense for us to revisit that level. So I'm going to take this major low here. I'm going to call this one our major corrective completion low. We've got to move up. I'm going to have to fix that. And then we've got our pullback right there. All right, let me fix this guy. Put him right there. So the 175, 1618, that's sitting here basically right at our zone for the 382. And then that 2618 is going to be all the way up here at about 156, 157. I don't think it's going to make it that high. But we've got a good move so far. So today was up 0.6%. Let's just take a look at the week on TLT. On TLT for the week, it's up 1.89%. Last week, it was also up significantly, up another 1% last week as well. So we're in a series of calls for TLT, and it's so far it's working out pretty well. If I had to go back and see, we've got looks like we're currently sitting on 34% profit on those calls, but they are dated out to mid-July. So we're going to be able to hold these for quite a while. And so far, they're looking okay as well. Let's also see if we can take a look at another one here, which is ZB. So this is a futures contract. So these are T-bond futures, and I've been talking about this as well. Again, this one, I do fully expect to come back up to 167. We're also in we're in a spread on ZB that has really fantastic outcome if we go above 165. So basically we're on a 160, 165 call spread on this ZB U21 contract, which has 43 days left till expiration. And you know, if we even just make it to this 382, that's going to be significant profit at 164. But I think that we're going to eke our way up here to 167, which again, looking left, again, I talk about this kind of stuff quite a bit. Looking left, resistance here, support here, and then we broke down. We had a little bit of a rejection there, and I'm guessing we're going to be finding our way back up. And it all makes sense. So that's kind of what my thoughts are on varying market instruments, looking at bonds, TLT, taking a look at Google. We got to play on Amazon a little later in the day today. Also, you know, we closed a lot of positions today. On that big spike at the open, I took that opportunity to close a lot of positions. So we were in some put credit spreads on QQQ. Also on SPX, we were in some of those as well, and we closed a lot of the profit that we had there. So I know a lot of us had a pretty good day today, and we're looking for that to continue. But again, my general consensus is, and if you don't hear anything, I want you to hear this: the market is going to correct. And we're going to make our way to new highs first. I firmly believe that we're going to make our way to new highs. But the market is going to correct. And at some point, these very, very bullish Elliott wave patterns and charts that you have been shown, including by me, some of them are going to become invalidated. Elliott wave is very subjective. It's not perfect, right? So there's going to be a point in time where we get that rejection. And, again, looking at NQ, it could be that rejection comes on that trend line that I was talking about. Okay? Right here, this trend line right here. It could be that rejection comes up there at 14,225. That would make perfect sense for there to be a rejection there. Because then again, that would be, bottom of wave 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Maybe we hit it, we try it again, 5. And then we do that big pullback. So a lot can happen between now and then. I'm not super bearish right now, obviously, but I will at some point. I will get bearish. I need to see the right kind of rejection, but again, I think it's coming, and I think the market is going to see a 2 to 3 month corrective cycle. Now, I'm not saying that we're going to be seeing anything like we saw here. Nothing like this. But I would say that we're probably going to see something that looks a little bit, let me go to the Qs, because this is going to be a cleaner chart for me to show you. I do think we're going to be seeing something that looks a little bit like, let me scroll out. Here we go. This right here, September and October of last year. A really great example of a corrective cycle that the market was in. Right there. This was 2 months of chop. It started on Labor Day. This was September 2nd right here. And it ended basically on November 2nd. That was 2 months. Big pulled back. Right? A big pullback. A lot of oscillators reset. Big move up. And then it happened again. Corrections come in waves of 3. Okay? Same thing happened right here. 1, 2, 3. This was not as significant as this was over here. Okay? So again, you're going to be expecting something like that to happen. Or you should be expecting it. Because, again, nobody's going to say for sure that that's what's going to happen, but this market is going to correct. And I think it's going to happen after NASDAQ makes another push to new highs. The S&P made new highs today. NASDAQ, it's going to get there. It is going to get there. I firmly believe that. And then when it does, I'm going to be shaving a lot of profit off the table, and I'm not going to be exposing myself too much. I'm going to move a lot to cash. This is just my opinion. This is kind of what I'm going to do. And I'm going to be telling everybody that's on the Discord exactly what my plan is when the time comes. I'm not going to rush it. I'm not going to rush into shorts. I'm not going to try and short every spike that we have at all-time highs. That's a very foolish thing to do. But I am going to be looking to get some hedges once we hit that 14,200 mark, because I think that that's going to be an area where there is going to be some resistance. And I'll look and see what the reaction is there, but I'm not going to rush it. I'm going to look for some kind of a rejection before I decide to put any money at risk, especially some of these hard-earned profits that have been made over the last month or two. All right, guys, that's all I've got for you right now. If this video did help in any way, shape, or form, you know the deal. Like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. And, of course, wherever you are in the world, I hope you're having a good day, a good night, and a good evening.